Good morning. This week we told you how we wanted to be a part of the Tip Your Cap campaign to honor the 100th anniversary of the Negro National League. It's a baseball league founded for black players. And so we've been telling you this week about that history and about some of the amazing players and taking time to tip our cap to them as we honor them. Today I wanted to tell you about Hank Aaron. Now, if you're a baseball fan, somebody who's followed the sport, you certainly probably already know about Hank Aaron, the home run king, such an incredible player, somebody who's regarded by many as one of the greatest players of all time. Left his mark upon the game in an amazing way. But life wasn't always so easy for him. Didn't always have it so great. When he was growing up, he grew up down in Mobile, Alabama, a place that was full of unbelievable amounts of racism. He tells so many stories from his childhood of facing that racism. When he grew older, they knew that he was a great athlete and had a lot of potential as a baseball player, but nobody knew exactly how much potential he had or how great he could be. He left home whenever he got a little bit older, and he left with just a coat on his back and $2.50 in his pocket. His mom said that that's all that she had to give him. He left and he went up to play baseball for the Indianapolis Clowns. It was one of the teams there in the Negro National League. It was back in 1952. He had a short stint there, but by that time, the color barrier had already been broken by Jackie Robinson and so many others. And so after just a short stint with the Indianapolis Clowns, he went and took a contract to play for what was then the Milwaukee Braves, eventually would become the Atlanta Braves. Now he had made it into Major League Baseball and was doing incredibly well, but life still wasn't easy. As they traveled around in the 1950s as a baseball team, he still faced incredible racism in so many different places that he went. They would go to certain towns and the team would be forced to split up because of segregation. The white players would stay in one hotel, the black players would have to stay in a different hotel. They would go to eat in a restaurant and the white people would be able to go in and eat while the black teammates had to get their food and go back onto the bus to eat theirs. There was one restaurant that Hank tells a story about in an interview. And he said that they went to eat at this restaurant. The restaurant was forced to allow him to come in, and they had to serve him. He went in and he ate his dinner. After they had cleared the table, they took the plates back to the kitchen. And he heard them in the back smashing his plates. What he would later learn is that rather than taking his plates and washing them and using them to serve somebody else food, they would have rather broken the plates and trashed them than to ever have to serve anybody from them. This was the kind of racism and hatred that Hank Aaron faced throughout his career. Whenever they would go to certain places like Florida to play, there were some newspapers who refused to publish the pictures of the black players on the baseball team. They would only publish the pictures of the white players. By the early 1970s, Hank had discovered that the greatest way to win fans over was to hit lots of home runs. And so that's what he did. He really did become the home run king by the end of his career. He would go on to break Babe Ruth's records for career home runs. Babe Ruth had set the record at 714. And by the early 1970s, Hank Aaron was getting close to that record. And in a time when it seems that so many should have been celebrating his achievement, his accomplishment, instead it seemed like the racism and the hatred just ramped up even more so. He started receiving all kinds of letters and mail that were coming in from people all over the country. In fact, the Atlanta Braves started collecting all of this mail that came in through their front office for Hank Aaron. And what they discovered is that there was more than 990,000 pieces of mail just from the early 1970s that came to him. The post office actually gave him a plaque because they said that he received more mail than any other individual in the entire country other than a politician. But those 990,000 pieces of mail that he got, well, too much of that was filled with racism and hatred. People who were spewing all kinds of evil things, making death threats against him, his children, and his family. It came from people who couldn't stand the idea that Babe Ruth's record was going to be broken by a black man. This is what he was facing in the midst of what should have been one of the most exciting times of his career. Instead, there were so many who were tearing him down, who were spreading gossip and rumors about him. You know, at St. Luke's, we have something that's called our membership covenant. It's something that as new members join the church, we all say, these are the things that we strive to live by as members of this family of faith. It's the things that we commit to. The very last thing that's on that covenant says that as members of this family of faith, we're going to refuse to gossip, we're going to be encouragers, and we're going to strive to see Christ in one another. You know, in Hank Aaron's day, there were so many who were tearing him down and gossiping about him. The reality is we still see too much of that in our world today. When you look at social media, when you look at the way that we talk to one another and about one another, there's still way too much gossip and rumors and slander that goes on. Too many half-truths and lies that are being shared. What would it be like instead if we chose to encourage each other, to see Christ in one another? If we chose to show kindness and respect and love to each other, how would our world be a different place? You know, when I think back about Hank Aaron's story, it reminds me that the road to success is not always a smooth journey. And what should have been the highlight of his career, he was living in fear and trepidation. It should not have been that way. Today, you and I have a chance to create a new normal, to be able to be instead those who refuse to gossip, who refuse to tear others down, but instead we can be the ones who lift each other up, who encourage others and celebrate others' achievements rather than seeing them as a threat. You and I have a chance to see Christ in one another. Today, as we remember Hank Aaron, I want to take time to tip my cap to him for all that he did to advance the game of baseball, but all that he did to share kindness in the world, to make this world a better place. I hope you go out and do something kind for somebody else, that you refuse to gossip and find a way to encourage somebody today, to see Christ in them. Today, we're going to make it a great day.